This is episode number 1 in the film world with Jordan Brady. Like my podcast over at SoundCloud and be sure you're following me because every Friday I will have a new guest in filmmaking. Follow me at T. Michael Kenyon on both Twitter and Instagram as well as SoundCloud. Jordan is a director of film. He has worked on several commercials, worked with several comedians in his career. I will have all those links for you up in the show notes to look over. At this time, please help me welcome the one, the only, Jordan Brady. Alright, welcome everyone. We're in the film world today with our very first guest, Jordan Brady. Jordan, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me. No, thank you. I mean, you realize that your first episode is going to set the tone. It's going to set the bar. And that you chose me is quite flattering and humble.
Yeah, I myself have done only one as a young person in the industry. I've been more on broadcast for myself, but I've been seeking editing and directing myself, so I can learn a lot from you.
Absolutely. I am a fountain of knowledge, and you should come drink from the fountain.
Yeah, definitely. I did one just before I dive into the questions I have today. I have done one short film that took a day shooting. It was a 5-minute short, and I can share that with you later too.
Yes, please do. And please post a link so we can all enjoy it. Did you have fun?
Oh, yeah. I ton of fun. And I'm telling you one other thing. A couple years ago when I was down in Houston, I'm born in Houston. I'm from Texas and all. I guess they do it all over the country, all over the world. 48-hour film. I got on one of those projects one time, and if you can find excitement in that, you know you love working in film. And I loved 48-hour film project.
I got to tell you, I have done the 48-hour film. Maybe it was a different brand, but it's the same thing. They put a couple of words in a hat Friday night. The writer pulls words out of the hat, and usually they write around a central theme. Saturday morning, the director pulls a script from one of the writers randomly, and then you get actors' names out of a hat and go. We're going to screen these films Sunday night. So from Friday night to Sunday night, that's your 48 hours for the listener not quite understanding what we're talking about. And that was 10 years ago when I did it, maybe more. Yeah, like 2003 was just starting to happen. Now they're all over the country. And Thomas, you're absolutely right. It is an exercise in collaboration and problem solving. Because the one thing that you have to do in filmmaking is have a mindset that says there are only solutions.
Yes.
If you're a bellyacher and you're just complaining all the time and you want to blame that guy because he didn't bring the right thing, or it's her fault because she was supposed to come up with a way to do this, you're never going to succeed.
Yes.
Your mindset is there are only solutions. And those 48-hour film festivals, that's all you can do. You're problem solving from scratch.
Yes, exactly. And you're in there. I wasn't a part of the selection process on Friday, but I was included in the communication when they found out everything. I think they drew their topic, which we got. What did I get? I got a dark drama or some dark comedy. And yeah, I'll have to share a link. It actually came out quite good too. I was the DP on that project.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and if you're going to be the DP on one of these kind of things, there's a tremendous reliance on you and your mastery of craft. You can't let the team down.
Ye-
And whether you're making decisions or supporting the director, supporting the talent, like there's so much to be gained by, staying in your lane and doing your job
Yes.
to the best of your abilities, that sometimes is the best way to help other people. Not by stopping what you're doing and helping them in the art department or the sound department, but by I'm going to focus on my thing and allow you to solve your problems. Does that make sense?
Yes. And it's the biggest essence of the team. Everyone does their part. Everyone works together, and it all comes together nicely. Editing, there's no bigger job in 40-hour film. I mean, there's no bigger job in film overall, but every job plays an essential part of getting a finished product.
Can I tell you a quick
Yeah,
story?
go ahead.
When I was doing those back in the day, the 48-hour film festival, the first one I did, everyone said, we stopped shooting at 4 in the morning Saturday night. We've been editing all day. And the next person would be like, we shot till 5 in the morning and we've been editing all day. We barely made it here. But I knew that digitally we could edit as we go. But this is 10, 15
That's
years ago.
smart.
And so when I stood up, I go, well, we edited while we were shooting,
Yep.
and then we edited while we were shooting. So we all went to bed around 11 o'clock last night, got some sleep, and picked up today and colored and scored.
Our team did the exact same thing. We edited as we went. It was a smarter way to go. And we were done shooting by midnight.
And
7 a.m. to midnight. Shooting, editing, 7 a.m. to midnight.
Wow. See, that's the same schedule. That's good. That's smart filmmaking.
All right. So, nice topic to start off with. And it's intense, yes. But again, if you do it and you love it, you know you're in the right place. I wanted to let our listeners know what role or campaign would anyone listening know or recognize you from?
Well, lately, if the listeners are on Facebook, you have that in Texas,
Yes.
right? I'm surprised Facebook doesn't make a Texas edition. Texas is like, it's not just its own country. It's like its own world. But if you have Facebook and you, at any point in your life, have thought about Toyota, the algorithms of the web and Facebook have probably put one of my Toyota commercials in your Facebook feed because I see them all the time. The last couple of years, Thomas, I've been doing these wonderful, they're like digital magic tricks. Like the one I saw the other day that I directed, we did it, I think I did it last summer, but it's still on Facebook all the time. This guy's standing next to a Prius, and on one side of him is the Prius, on the other side is like a 6-foot red gas can. And he talks about how much gas do you need for the Prius. He runs towards the camera, and he picks up the gas can, and it turns out it was like a little 3-inch miniature gas can close to the camera, what we call forced perspective. And that runs, and it's the same actor all the time, this guy who's really charming. I think your listeners may have gone, I've seen one of those on the plays all the time on my Facebook feed.
Okay.
And your listeners, oh my gosh, you're in Texas. Have you ever heard of the Houston Texans?
Oh, definitely, yes.
They're a football team. So I just did 2 commercials for Ford F-150 trucks. One of them was with the Pittsburgh Steelers mascot, who's this guy Steely McBeam. And then the other one was with Toro,
Yes.
the Houston Texans bull mascot. He's got a bunch of rodeo clowns. I don't know when this is going live, but it'll be on air by then because it'll run during football, Mondays and Sundays and Thursdays and everything. But the guys who play the mascots, especially that guy Toro, what a nice guy. We flew him out from Houston. We shot in Los Angeles at a real rodeo ring.
Nice.
And we had rodeo clowns, and it was just a blast. And last year I did some Ford Super Duty trucks commercials where this guy stepped on a nail, but it didn't even cause him pain, didn't bleed or anything. It was special effects and comedy.
Oh, really?
And your listeners would know that one. And they probably saw the one with these guys jumping rope.
He actually stepped on the nail and it pierced skin.
And it pierces skin. If you go to JordanBrady.com, it's the first spot up on my website.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna have all this stuff up in the show notes for people to go and click on.
Oh, that's wonderful.
JordanBrady.com.
And then in the
be
movie,
sure and go check that out.
At JordanBrady.com. Thank you, Thomas. And then what I was telling you the other day before we started talking was I Am Comic is a documentary on stand-up comedians with Louis C.K. and Jeff Foxworthy and Carrot Top and Sarah Silverman, you name it, all the comedians are in it. And then I did 2 more I Am Road Comic, and most recently I Am Battle Comic, about doing stand-up comedy for our U.S. troops in Afghanistan and Iraq. So hopefully people know that last one because that's one I just finished back in August. I Am Battle Comic.
Yes. What was one of your most memorable projects? Maybe it was I Am Battle Comic. Or what was most memorable and why?
Well, that's a great question. I'm going to go with the documentary I Am Battle Comic. And by the way, you can go to IamBattleComic.com or iTunes or Amazon, all those places. Wherever you stream your movie or buy a movie, that's where it is. And the fun part about I Am Battle Comic is I got to travel and meet the men and women that make up our armed forces. And then I got to come back and edit the film because I went to Afghanistan and Kuwait and other places I'm not allowed to talk about.
Yes.
And I filmed everything, and I did stand-up comedy with 4 real comedians, national headliners. And we had a blast. And when I came home, I got to screen the film I think we went to 8 different cities, including Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio was the only one I didn't get to go to. But you're in Houston, right?
I'm from Houston. I'm actually living in Dallas. I've been living in Dallas the last 2 years myself. But I'm a Houston guy.
Okay, so your Dallas friends know the landmark Magnolia.
Yes.
So we packed the house and we gave all the ticket sales to National Military Family Association. And they send kids to camp when their parents are deployed, or they help moms and dads reintegrate into their family when they come back from a year or 2 overseas.
Very cool.
They support the military spouses. It's a great organization. And we did the same thing in Houston at the what was the landmark theater there in Houston? But anyway, in San Antonio, it was at the Alamo Draft House. We took the film to different cities and gave all the money away to wonderful charities. And that to me was the best experience because it's a very personal film and I got to do something good with it. which just feels great.
Yeah, that's very cool. That sounds like it helped a bunch of people with that project. What do you think is harder, getting started in film or being able to keep going?
I think it's harder to be able to keep going because to get started, you have this raw energy, and now in 2018, the tools. I mean, I Am Battle comic I made with a camcorder I bought at Best Buy and some microphones I got off the web. I mean, the tools have never been more readily available for a person wanting to break in. So you can write a story and go out and shoot it. You and I both know we can do it in 48 hours. But maintaining that, paying the bills, finding new projects, and honing your creative voice is the hardest thing to continue to do. I think you always want to be growing as any artist. Right?
Yeah.
So that's my answer.
One of the things I always hear about the writers, I hear them, oh, they're looking for programs and because it has to be in the specific format. But I looked up and I had a guide to help me guide my through how to set up the specific format for writing a script in Word, and I didn't know, like, myself personally until a couple months ago when I did that you can Word have custom settings set up where you can have each indent where you exactly need them to be, and you can set up a script writing tool just in Word alone, a cheap writing tool.
That's a great point. Anybody listening right now that wants to break into screenwriting or TV writing or theater, those are all different formats. Each, you can look at a script and know if it's a movie or a TV show just by flipping to page 15 or any random page and knowing how it's formatted.
Yeah.
But rather than having to do all that tediously on a typewriter, right? You got a program that just goes, oh, Sally, boop, indent, OS, off screen, parentheses, like all that's automatic. And there's programs like Final Draft is the one that a lot of people use. But it's like a few $100. Have you heard of that program?
Yes,
Final Draft?
I've heard a couple people that I know that use that. Final Draft, I heard of Movie Magic. I heard a bunch of different ones.
Oh, yeah. But hey, you and I know that the most important part is not if it's indented right. I mean, format matters, and that's respecting the process. But you and I know the most important thing is the story. So if you were starting out and you wanted to scribble your story on a bunch of bar napkins, you could hire a friend to write it, type it up on the computer for you. But that's the easy part, is getting it in the right format, whatever you use. It's generating that idea and writing that story and following through and finishing the project that is the hard part. That's the talent right there, in my humble opinion.
When you say it's harder to keep going, when inspiration is waning, when you feel creatively sapped, when you feel it's pretty much non-existent, what do you do? How do you stay fresh in the next thing you're gonna produce? And you don't have to say everything you do, just maybe give one thing.
Yeah, tell me what was your favorite thing I said, and I'll expound on that.
You said it's harder to keep going. With these days, you said everything is easier to get started with everything made available to everyone. You said it's harder to keep going.
Okay. With with the democratization of the tools, it's easier for anyone to jump into filmmaking. What's harder is to maintain a career, because you're not only competing with other people for jobs, but you're also competing with yourself to come up with new ideas all the time. So if I find myself in a funk creatively, or I don't have a job, maybe I didn't win an assignment that I was bidding on, I like to help other people. Like Sunday, I'm going to do sound on my son's shoot, and that's going to invigorate me. It's going to be creatively fulfilling, and I know I'm helping people. So I'll volunteer to help read someone's treatment and give them notes, or maybe come up with ideas for their project. And I find that, while it's not as fulfilling as doing my own project, I mean, who am I kidding? I like doing my own stuff. That's why we're filmmakers. Working on someone else's crew, helping behind the scenes, maybe introducing, helping them find the right piece of talent, or connecting. I connected a director friend of mine with a great gaffer and a new DP he'd never worked with, and I think it upped his game, the director's game. I think it made for a better shoot. And my friends are getting work out of it. So it's kind of like giving and paying it forward. There's a reward in doing that, and that keeps me fresh, keeps me upbeat.
That's really powerful. The one thing when I hear all you say, when I hear you say this, I can't help to think of pro bono work in like a law firm, and I thought about this the other day. It's how you develop the relationships, as you how you give and receive, like your work. I started thinking, I don't know, would you agree that lawyers, when you're talking about like comparing our world with like law and anything, would you agree that maybe you put aside time and effort to just give and not expect like anything in return, and just give your time?
Absolutely. And like,
one project a month, and that's really
now that's a lot.
That may be too much, but how?
I wish I could do that, but I agree with the sentiment of giving without expecting anything, and no matter what field you're in, but especially in filmmaking, give and never, without the expectation of receiving something in return. That the act of helping someone is the reward itself. I'm very fortunate that I get to do my commercial directing boot camp, where I teach things that I've learned over 20 years of making commercials. And the one thing I don't publicize enough, because I get flooded with emails, but I want to tell you and your listeners again, is I do a diversity award, where if someone just really simply explains why they want to direct commercials, and they send me a link to a couple of things they've worked on, they don't even have to have directed them, and you're from an underrepresented segment of the population, meaning you're not a white guy. Sorry, Tom. Then you can, unless you're really poor. If you're really poor and a white guy and you have no connections to the industry, that counts as diversity to me. But if you're a black filmmaker and you need a relationship in, a woman, a Latina, a Latino, an Asian American with no family connections, that you need to learn about commercials, just email me, jordan@commercialdirectingbootcamp.com, and every quarter I pick someone that gets to come for free. And I don't ever expect that person is ever going to hire me or send me a project. And, the only thing I ask in return is you do well and you someday help someone else and pay it forward. And you have a kick-ass career. I want you to succeed. That's the biggest reward.
Yeah, they're coming to you, and you want them to put it all in for not just you, for them too. You want what they do to mean
people.
something.
Absolutely. But I love your analogy to the law firm and the pro bono work. You know, I tell a lot of my clients, if we're shooting for 2 or 3 days and you have a children's hospital as a client or, you know, a nonprofit, let's shoot something at the end of the shoot for a couple hours, a testimony, a couple of cool shots. Let's shoot something with the crew. My crew would love to help something like that.
Wow, that's really powerful to hear coming from someone from like you. Very powerful to hear that. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up the my first podcast, and I want to.
It's always going to be special for the two of us.
Don't worry. There'll be more for all you listeners out there. There'll be more every week on Friday. But I do have some final questions that I like to start. Well, I would like to start asking each at the end.
Hit me.
The first one, what does it mean to be successful to you in film?
Wow, you have great questions, first of all.
Thank you.
Yeah. For me, to be successful in filmmaking means that you are getting paid to do what you love to do. I'm not even qualifying as you have to make a living. But that to me is I think a fair barometer of success. That this is what I would do in my free time, and I'm getting paid. So it could be a hobby, but someone's paying you. Like, it's not a hobby is when you're not making any money. So I guess I shouldn't say it's a hobby. But the other thing, without the money, take that out of the equation. I think success as a filmmaker is when you can reach an audience and connect with people through your work without any explanation. I got an email today from a woman, Bella is her name, who said, I saw your website and I want to see if you can help. My mother is disabled and she can't do anything except watch movies. Dill Scallion was her hands-down favorite for a long time. We had to move her in a house, and we lost the box of DVDs. It was smashed. How can I get a replacement, and at what price can I get Dill Scallion? And I told you earlier that was, I went to Muleshoe, Texas, and Dallas and all that. And she said, Amazon has one for $80. I can't afford that for my mom. So I wrote her back, Bella, tell me where I can send you a free DVD. Now that to me is success. And I can make a woman and her disabled mother smile by mailing a DVD of a movie that I made almost 20 years ago. Why, by golly, that's success right there. I'm not Michael Bay. I'm not David Fincher. Some of your listeners, they never heard of me. But I got a fan out there who's going to smile.
That's.
And then the last thing I'll say is, on top of that, the bonus success. And this, I'm very proud. I hope I sound as humble as I want to telling you this, but by being able to raise money for all the nonprofits for military families and veterans with I Am Battle Comics, available at IamBattleComics.com or iTunes or Amazon, wherever your listeners consume their content. To be able to raise money and show the film and share laughs and share tears and have meaningful conversations during the question and answers after the movie. I gave away all the money from the box office. Still giving away proceeds with the DVD sales. So take the money out of the equation for success, the formula for success, being able to raise money I mean, I'm essentially saying, if you can lose money making movies and give it to charity, that's great. I'm kidding about the lose money part.
Yeah, all good stuff. And yeah, we look to have this to build our business these days, and need the money to kind of drive things forward. But it's not always about money. It's about relationships and what you do with those, and how you keep the money flowing coming in. All good
And
stuff.
and Thomas, look, at the end of the day, whether you've made a couple of short films, a slew of commercials, or one killer movie that you got to go to a festival or two, you enjoyed the process. People always say it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, or the other one is it's the journey, not the destination. Well, I think you can have both. I think you can enjoy the wonderful journey of filmmaking. You can enjoy all the frustrations. You can enjoy all the trouble, the problem solving, the things that went wrong. You can look back and laugh at. And the destination is not just the finished product, but it's this collection of memories that you built with your friends making movies. And that's at any level.
Very cool. Which just that brings me right to my next question. Why do you think, or why is not? And maybe you think, why is the film industry important in our world?
Again, Thomas, these questions are amazing. I think that the film industry is important. One, it provides, on a practical level, it provides jobs. But more importantly, you hope that good films of any length tap into the collective consciousness of society. And that's why films from France are different from films from Iran, are different from blockbuster studio films. They're tapping into a different pool of ideas and way of life. And nowadays, more than ever with the internet, you can watch films about people and places, fiction, nonfiction, in parts of the world that you never had a connection to. So ultimately, the visual medium of storytelling through film is bringing us all closer together. We can celebrate our differences, and we can see our common traits, and there's really no other way to do it as effectively as film. And the more people, when I talk about the democratization of the tools of film, not just young people in America going out and learning to be filmmakers, but people in Central Africa can tell the plight of their people or the celebrations that they do with their community. Like it's making the world a smaller place in a good way.
Very cool. Before I get into my last question, which you've brought up, the things that you've done in the past. IamBattleComic.com, along with the commercials that can be seen on JordanBrady.com. What can we look forward to you from in the future?
Oh man, that is the question. When you go to a film festival and your film is getting all the buzz, everyone told me the first time, and I've told people since, everyone's going to ask, what are you working on? What's next? And have that answer ready. And for the first time, I don't really have that answer. I mean, I'm shooting a Toyota commercial for 4 days in a couple weeks.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier. So that could be that's your.
That's not my final answer.
Yeah.
Not my final answer. I want to do I'm going to produce a film. I'm producing a short film, but that's not going to satisfy me as what I want to direct. I really am considering keeping the I Am series of films alive, but pivoting away from stand-up comedy. And my next documentary feature film is very likely to be I Am Podiatrist. An exciting and humorous look at the world of foot doctors. Because everyone starts out with some feet, and everyone's got a foot problem, and it's just it's such an unfunny world that it must be funny. Like, that's the challenge. How do I make foot doctors and foot care interesting?
That's interesting. Definitely have to keep lookout for that.
I Am Podiatrist.
All right, so to wrap this all up, I got this inspiration to start this podcast and to go more specifically into film world from someone else who he now lives out in LA. He started a podcast maybe 3 or 4 years ago, Lewis Howes and School of Greatness podcast, and I've been listening for like since May or June of this year.
Right.
And at the end of his podcast, he asks the 3 questions, and one of them I absolutely want. I can't take the credit for it, but I love the question so much. And it just goes. He starts the question. Is mainly his final question, and it goes. He asks it like this: "It's your last day on Earth. You know it is. You're on the bed. Your family's surrounding you. All your stuff that you've done has some reason that it's been wiped off, and it's gone. And you want to be remembered. You want to have a legacy. And you're given one piece of paper. You can do anything you like with it and a pen. With the one piece of paper, flip it over, whatever. What are 3 truths that you know to be true about the film world?"
First of all, I like that you were inspired by this last question. And you didn't steal it. You are paying homage, Thomas.
Yes.
Paying homage. And that's one of the 3 truths that I would write, that to be successful, you must study the history of film so that you may stand on the shoulders of the giants that came before you. So that you know that Steven Spielberg studies and pays homage to David Lean. You know, he loved Lawrence of Arabia, and you can see the influences in that. And J.J. Abrams learned and pays homage to Steven Spielberg. So study the past and learn from the greats and borrow, steal, homage, whatever you want to call it. Don't reinvent the wheel. Learn from those who came before us. The second one is this. You can never lie about your credits, but you can lie about your pay. So in the film world, you don't have to tell people how you worked for free or how the budget was $17,000 to make a feature film. You know, everyone's always proud of how inexpensively they made something, but that then just tells other people to not pay you as much. So I'm a big proponent of speaking the truth except about your money. You can lie about that if you want to make more. But your credit, you just can't lie about. You either wrote the script or you didn't. You either were the cinematographer or you were not. It is binary. So when it says, a guy sent me one time, Thomas, a music video, and he goes, hey, I'm sending you the music video I directed. And I watched it on YouTube, and at the end it said directed by someone else. And I knew this guy worked on it, but I didn't know he directed it. And when I saw his name was not the name, I called him up. I said, hey, I'm calling bullshit. Pardon my language. I said, why is the other guy's name at the end of the film? It says directed by so-and-so. He goes, well, I really directed it, and I'm talking to them and the artist about it. I'm going to put my name on it. I go, well, as of right now, you are not the director, and you can't lie about your credit. You can't send me something and say you directed it and someone else did, and thank goodness the guy's name is on there to catch you in your lie. So that would be number 2. You can lie about your money, but you can't lie about the credit. And number 3, that I have found to be a truth, is something we touched on earlier. That creativity and the process of film, of making film, can and should be its own reward. A lot of people think the shoot itself has to be grueling. It doesn't. It can be enjoyable. It can be a celebration. I've talked to many filmmakers, interviewing them on my podcast, and they love going to set. Like most people love going to set. You yourself, Thomas, love being on set. And that is one of the most, so I would say the third thing would be that filmmaking, the process of making film and collaborating with others, is one of the purest forms of joy, and that should be embraced. That the process is to be enjoyed.
All right, very cool, very awesome stuff.
If I could flip the paper over, I would draw a big smiley face on that piece of paper.
Nothing but the smiley face, or and that would be it?
That'd be it, just a smiley face.
All right. And I think I did see, looking on the page, but your podcast link is on your page as well?
It is, at jordanbrady.com. It's called Respect the Process. It's on iTunes. It's free, and it's great conversations with working filmmakers, cinematographers, and people from ad agencies that come up with the ideas,
Well, I'm for one a big, since all this I wanted to listen to a couple other podcasts, but you just added another download, but from me on your podcast, so I'll be checking that out as well.
Check it out.
All right, thank you so much for giving me the time for this first show, and I'm grateful that you were able to give a few nuggets of information from all your experiences.
Thomas, it is my pleasure, and I want to tell your listeners that launching a podcast is like getting a movie off the ground. So you listeners, rate this podcast, share it with your friends. Everybody knows someone who has a filmmaker in the family. No matter who you talk to, oh, my nephew's out there. Oh, my niece is writing a script. She's a director. She wants to make movies. Send them this podcast and come back every week and hear Thomas and his guests. That's how we all help each other.
Exactly.
Okay?
But thank you for coming on.
I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Thanks for having me. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Bye-bye.
There you have it. If you like this podcast, give it a like. tweet me at TMichaelKenyon on Twitter and Instagram. Be sure you are following me also on SoundCloud at TMichaelKenyon. Share this with your friends and whoever else needs to hear what was said in the show. Thank you for clicking and listening, and I hope this brings you tremendous value in your life.